The communication array on Luna Base crackled with an incoming signal that made communications specialist Sarah Chen nearly spill her coffee. The transmission wasn't coming through any of the standard human frequencies. Instead, it blazed across the emergency galactic channels that Earth had only recently gained access to after making contact with the Galactic Cooperative just 18 months ago. "Commander Rodriguez, you need to hear this," Sarah called out, her fingers dancing across the translation matrix. The signal was encoded in Threxian, one of the more common galactic languages that humans were still learning. Commander Elena Rodriguez hurried over, her boots echoing in the communications bay. At 42, she had led Luna Base through first contact protocols and the subsequent integration attempts with galactic society. Most species had been politely dismissive of humanity's potential contributions to galactic affairs. "What are we looking at, Chen?" Rodriguez asked, settling into the chair beside her communications officer. Sarah's brow furrowed as she worked through the translation. "It's an emergency distress signal, but Commander, it's not meant for us. Look at the recipient code." She pointed to a string of symbols on her screen. "That's the identifier for the Zilithian High Command." Rodriguez studied the symbols. The Zilithians were one of the most advanced species in the Galactic Cooperative, known for their incredible technology and strategic military prowess. They had been among the most condescending during humanity's integration meetings, referring to Earth as a developing world and humans as enthusiastic but limited. "Why are we receiving their mail?" Rodriguez asked. Sarah's fingers continued working. "Near as I can tell, our communication array's positioning relative to the source created some kind of signal bounce. We're accidentally intercepting a transmission meant for them." She paused, reading more of the message. "Commander, this is urgent. It's from the research station Kepler 442b. Rodriguez knew that designation. Kepler 442b was a planet in the habitable zone of its star, about 1,200 light-years from Earth. The Galactic Cooperative had established a major research facility there, studying something they called quantum biological integration, technology so advanced that humans weren't even allowed to observe the research. "What does the message say?" Rodriguez asked. Sarah's face went pale as the translation completed. "They're under attack. Something called the Void Swarm has breached their containment fields. The research team is trapped, life support is failing, and their defensive systems are offline." She looked up at Rodriguez. "Commander, they're requesting immediate military intervention. They say they have maybe 48 hours before total facility collapse." Rodriguez felt a chill run down her spine. The research station housed over 3,000 galactic citizens, including some of the brightest minds in the cooperative. "What about the Zilithian response?" Sarah checked the transmission logs. "That's the problem. The signal is routing through their system, but they're not responding. Their communication hub shows as offline." "Offline?" Rodriguez stood up, pacing. "The Zilithians don't go offline. Unless something happened to them too," Sarah said quietly. Rodriguez stopped pacing. In the 18 months since first contact, humanity had learned that space was far more dangerous than they had imagined. The Galactic Cooperative existed partly as protection against various threats that roamed between the stars. The Void Swarm was something she had heard whispered about in diplomatic meetings, a force that consumed advanced technology and left only empty space behind. "Chen, pull up everything we have on the Void Swarm," Rodriguez ordered, "and get me a direct line to Admiral Harrison on Earth." While Sarah worked, Rodriguez stared out at the Earth rising over the lunar horizon. Humanity had fought so hard to be taken seriously by the galactic community. They had been told repeatedly that their military technology was primitive, their space travel capabilities limited, and their understanding of galactic threats minimal. Earth's requests to participate in cooperative security operations had been politely declined. Now, it seemed like the advanced species might need help from the primitive humans. Sarah's voice interrupted her thoughts. I've got Admiral Harrison on the line, and I've pulled up our intelligence files on the Void Swarm. Rodriguez returned to the communication station. Admiral Harrison's weathered face appeared on the screen, his gray eyes serious. Elena, Sarah's briefed me on the situation. What's your assessment? Sir, if this transmission is accurate, we're looking at a major crisis. The research station on Kepler 442b is under attack by the Void Swarm, and their primary backup, the Zilithians, appears to be compromised. Harrison nodded grimly. I've been in contact with our other monitoring stations. We're detecting unusual energy signatures from Zilithian space. It's possible they're dealing with their own Void Swarm incursion. Rodriguez felt her heart rate increase. Sir, are you suggesting we respond to this distress call? That's exactly what I'm suggesting, Commander. Harrison's voice was steady. We may be the only ones in position to help. Sarah looked up from her console. Admiral, with respect, our fastest ships would take months to reach Kepler 442b. By then it would be too late, Harrison finished, unless we use the breakthrough drive. Rodriguez and Sarah exchanged glances. The breakthrough drive was humanity's most closely guarded secret, a faster-than-light technology that they had developed independently before making galactic contact. When they had mentioned it during integration talks, the galactic representatives had dismissed it as impossible. Human understanding of physics was considered too primitive for true FTL travel. Humanity had never corrected that assumption. Sir, Rodriguez said carefully, using the breakthrough drive would reveal capabilities we've kept classified. Elena, there are 3,000 lives at stake, including researchers whose work might be vital to galactic security. Sometimes doing the right thing means giving up strategic advantages. Rodriguez understood. She had joined the military to protect people, and that didn't stop at Earth's atmosphere. What kind of response are you authorizing? Harrison's expression grew determined. I'm authorizing Operation Unlikely Cavalry. The UES Defiance is being prepped for immediate deployment with a full Marine complement. Captain Martinez will command the mission, but I want you there as liaison. You understand galactic protocols better than anyone. Sarah cleared her throat. Admiral, what if this is some kind of test? What if the galactic community is evaluating how humanity responds to crisis situations? Harrison considered this. Then they'll learn that humans don't leave people behind, regardless of what species they are. He paused. Elena, I need you to understand something. The Void Swarm isn't just a military threat. According to our intelligence, they specifically target advanced technological civilizations. They're drawn to sophisticated energy signatures and quantum technologies. Like what they're researching on Kepler 442b, Rodriguez realized. Exactly. And if the Void Swarm consumes that research, they could become significantly more dangerous. Harrison's expression darkened. We're not just talking about a rescue mission. This could be a matter of galactic security. Rodriguez felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. When do we deploy? 1,800 hours. The Defiance is being loaded with our best equipment and personnel. Harrison smiled slightly. Elena, I want you to know that this mission has full presidential authorization. Humanity is about to announce itself as a serious player in galactic affairs. After Harrison signed off, Rodriguez turned to Sarah. What do you think, Chen? Are we crazy for attempting this? Sarah looked at the distress signal still blinking on her screen. Commander, 18 months ago, most galactic species thought we were nothing more than an aggressive species from a dangerous planet. They called Earth a death world and treated us like we were barely civilized. And now? Sarah smiled. Now they're about to find out what Deathworlders are really capable of. Rodriguez nodded, feeling a surge of pride and determination. Humanity had spent centuries developing technologies to survive in one of the galaxy's most hostile environments. They had learned to fight, to adapt, to overcome seemingly impossible odds. Earth had forged them into something unique in the galaxy, a species that thrived on challenges that would destroy others. The research station on Kepler 442b was about to learn what it meant to have humans coming to the rescue. Chen, send a message to the research station. Tell them help is coming. What if they ask who's responding? Rodriguez thought for a moment. Tell them the cavalry is on the way. As Sarah worked on the transmission, Rodriguez began planning for the mission ahead. The UES Defiance was one of humanity's most advanced ships, equipped with technology that most galactic species didn't know existed. Its marine complement included some of Earth's finest soldiers, trained in environments that would kill most galactic citizens. The Void Swarm had picked the wrong target this time. They were about to encounter something they had never faced before, humans with something to prove. Within hours, the Defiance would break away from Earth's gravity well and engage its breakthrough drive. The journey to Kepler 442b would take them through uncharted space, past dangers that had kept other species from venturing into that region. But humans had never been deterred by danger. It was what made them human. The rescue mission was about to begin, and the galaxy was about to witness what happened when Deathworlders decided to fight back. The UES Defiance dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system with a flash of twisted light that made the stars themselves seem to shiver. Captain Miguel Martinez stood on the bridge, his dark eyes focused on the tactical display showing the planet ahead. Beside him, Commander Rodriguez studied the sensor readings with growing concern. Captain, I'm reading massive energy disruptions around the research station, Lieutenant Shaw reported from the sensor station. Whatever's happening down there, it's big. Martinez nodded grimly. The 40-hour journey through hyperspace had given them time to study everything humanity knew about the Void Swarm. The intelligence reports painted a picture of something that defied conventional understanding, a force that seemed to exist partially outside normal space, consuming advanced technology and leaving only empty void behind. Commander Rodriguez, what can you tell us about the station's defenses? Martinez asked. Rodriguez consulted her tablet, filled with galactic technical specifications. The research facility was built by the cooperative's finest engineers, energy shields that could deflect asteroid impacts, automated defense systems with targeting algorithms that most species can't even comprehend, and quantum-locked security barriers. She paused, watching the readings on the tactical display, all of which appear to be offline. From the communications station, Ensign Torres looked up. Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from the station. It's weak, but I can make it out. Put it through. The voice that came through the speakers was strained, speaking in heavily accented galactic standard. This is Research Director Vexhai of the Kepler 442b facility. To any ships receiving this transmission, we are in critical need of immediate assistance. The Void Swarm has breached our primary containment fields, and our defensive systems have been systematically disabled. Martinez activated his communication system. Research Director Vexhai, this is Captain Martinez of the UES Defiance. We are responding to your distress call. There was a long pause, filled with static. UES Defiance? I am not familiar with this designation. What species are you? Rodriguez and Martinez exchanged glances. We're human, Director. From Earth. Another pause, longer this time. Humans? But your species has no deep space military capability. How did you arrive so quickly? That's a discussion for later, Director. What's your current status? The relief in Vexhai's voice was obvious. Captain, we have approximately 2,700 researchers and support staff trapped in various sections of the facility. The Void Swarm entities have established some kind of feeding pattern. They consume our energy systems first, then begin structural breakdown. We estimate 12 hours before complete facility collapse. Martinez looked at his tactical officer. Shaw, what are you reading on approach vectors? Captain, there are approximately 40 entities surrounding the station. They appear as distortions in spacetime, roughly spherical, each about 50 meters in diameter. They're attached to the station's hull at various points. Rodriguez studied the tactical display. The research station was massive, easily 5 kilometers long and designed to house thousands of researchers working on projects that pushed the boundaries of galactic science. Seeing it under attack sent a chill through her. Director Vexhai, Martinez said, we're going to attempt a rescue operation. Can you provide us with internal station schematics? Transmitting now, Vexhai replied. Captain, I must warn you, the Void Swarm entities have proven resistant to all conventional weapons. Our particle beam arrays, quantum disruptors, even our emergency fusion charges have had no effect. They seem to absorb directed energy and grow stronger. Martinez smiled grimly. Good thing we don't use conventional weapons. In the Marine Bay, Gunnery Sergeant Patricia Williams was addressing her troops. The Marine complement of the Defiance consisted of 60 of Earth's finest soldiers, each trained in environments that would challenge the survival capabilities of most galactic species. Listen up, people, Williams called out, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had served in conflicts from the Amazon rainforest to the frozen wastes of Antarctica. We're dealing with something new here. The Void Swarm has technologies that the galaxy's most advanced civilizations can't counter. Corporal Jackson raised his hand. Gunny, what makes us think we can do better? Williams grinned. Because we're not going to fight them with technology, Jackson. We're going to fight them the human way. She gestured to their equipment. Kinetic weapons, explosive charges, and good old-fashioned tactics. Sometimes the simplest solutions work best. The Marines were equipped with railgun rifles that fired depleted uranium rounds at hypervelocity, plasma charges designed for breaching operations, and combat suits that enhanced human strength and endurance rather than relying on advanced energy systems. Earth's military philosophy had always emphasized reliability and adaptability over technological sophistication. Back on the bridge, Rodriguez was studying the station schematics with growing understanding. Captain, I think I see what happened here. The research station's entire defensive strategy was based on energy projection and quantum manipulation. The Void Swarm seems specifically designed to counter those approaches. What are you thinking? Martinez asked. The station has multiple docking bays, but they're all sealed by energy barriers that are now offline. However, there are emergency airlocks designed for evacuation scenarios. If we could establish docking connections directly to those airlocks, we could bypass the compromised areas and get our people inside, Martinez finished. Shaw, can the Defiance's docking systems interface with those emergency ports? Lieutenant Shaw consulted his engineering displays. Yes, sir. But we'd have to get very close to the station, within 50 meters of the hull, which puts us within range of whatever those entities are doing, Rodriguez added. Martinez studied the tactical situation. The Void Swarm entities moved in patterns that seemed random, but felt somehow predatory. They pulsed with dark energy that seemed to bend light around them, making them difficult to track on sensors. Captain, Ensign Torres called out, I'm receiving another transmission. This one's from the Zilithian High Command. Martinez turned. Put it through. A different voice, crisp and authoritative, filled the bridge. Unknown vessel. This is Admiral Thexvar of the Zilithian 7th Fleet. Identify yourself immediately and withdraw from this area. This is a restricted military operation. Rodriguez frowned. According to their intelligence, the Zilithian communication hub had been offline. Admiral, this is the UES Defiance responding to a distress call from the research station. We were under the impression that Zilithian forces were unavailable. The situation has changed, Commander. Zilithian forces are now responding to this crisis. Your assistance is no longer required. Martinez felt something cold settle in his stomach. Admiral, with respect, There are nearly 3,000 lives at stake. We're already in position to begin rescue operations. Captain Martinez, the voice continued, and Martinez noticed that the Admiral had somehow learned his name despite not providing it. Your species' intervention in this matter could complicate our response. Please withdraw immediately. Rodriguez caught Martinez's eye and tapped her tablet. She had pulled up the communication analysis, and her expression was troubled. She mouthed the word delayed and pointed to the transmission lag indicators. Martinez understood. The transmission from Admiral Thexvar was coming from inside the system, but with a delay pattern that suggested it was being relayed through the research station itself. Admiral, Martinez said carefully, can you provide your fleet's current position for coordination purposes? There was a pause just slightly too long. That information is classified, Captain. Simply withdraw as ordered. Martinez cut the transmission and looked at Rodriguez. Analysis? Sir, that transmission originated from the research station. Either Admiral Thexvar is somehow on board the station, which seems unlikely, or something else is using Zilithian communication protocols to try to drive us away. Martinez turned to his tactical officer. Shaw, any sign of Zilithian ships in the system? Negative, Captain. We're the only vessel in sensor range. Martinez made his decision. All hands, prepare for combat operations. We're going in. The Defiance moved toward the research station with the predatory grace that characterized human military engineering. As they closed distance, the Void Swarm entities seemed to become aware of their presence. The dark spheres began moving with more purpose, converging on the areas where the ship might attempt to dock. Captain, Shaw reported, the entities are positioning themselves to intercept our approach vectors. Can we target them? Sir, conventional targeting systems are having difficulty maintaining locks. They seem to exist partially outside normal space. Rodriguez looked up from her console. Captain, what if we don't target them directly? The station's hull appears to be intact in most areas. If we could create debris fields between us and the entities... Martinez smiled. Rodriguez was thinking like a human now, finding unconventional solutions to impossible problems. Shaw, prepare mining charges. We're going to blast ourselves an approach corridor. Sir, target the small asteroids in the local area. Create a debris field that will physically block the entity's movement paths. Sometimes the oldest tactics work best. As the Defiance's weapon systems began targeting asteroids, creating clouds of rock and metal that drifted toward the station, Martinez opened a channel to the Marine Bay. Gunny Williams, how are your people doing? Williams's voice was steady and confident. Ready to rock and roll, Captain. We've analyzed the station schematics and identified primary targets for evacuation. My people are excited to show these Void Swarm things what Deathworlders can do. Martinez felt a surge of pride. In the past 40 hours, his crew had traveled across 1,200 light-years, analyzed an unknown threat, and developed tactical solutions that the galaxy's most advanced civilizations had failed to implement. They were about to attempt a rescue mission that would either save 3,000 lives or prove that human overconfidence was their greatest weakness. Director Vexhai, Martinez called to the research station. We're coming to get you. Prepare your people for evacuation. The response was filled with hope and disbelief. Captain, how can you possibly succeed where our advanced systems have failed? Martinez looked at Rodriguez, who nodded with determination. Director, you're about to learn what happens when Deathworlders decide that failure is not an option. The first wave of Marines launched from the Defiance in armored pods that looked primitive compared to the sleek technology of the research station. Gunnery Sergeant Williams rode in the lead pod, watching through the transparent aluminum viewports as the Void Swarm entities moved to intercept them. Remember, people, she broadcast to her Marines, these things feed on energy. That means no plasma weapons until we understand their feeding patterns better. Stick to kinetics and explosives. Corporal Jackson's voice crackled through the comm system. Gunny, one of those entities is moving directly toward Pod 3. Williams watched as a sphere of writhing darkness approached Marine Sergeant Chen's pod. The entity seemed to flow rather than move, its surface rippling with patterns that hurt to look at directly. As it made contact with the pod's hull, the emergency systems immediately began reporting power drain. "Chen, report," Williams called. "Gunny, it's like this thing is drinking our power systems. Life support is down to backup. Maneuvering thrusters are offline." Williams made a decision that would have seemed insane to most galactic military commanders. "Chen, initiate emergency separation. Use your suit thrusters to complete the approach manually." "Manual approach? Gunny, that's a 500-meter gap in hard vacuum. You've done longer approaches in Earth orbit training. Move!" What followed was a testament to human adaptability and training. Sergeant Chen and his 3 Marines ejected from their failing pod and used their suit-mounted maneuvering systems to cross the gap to the research station. The Void Swarm entity, apparently confused by the sudden absence of technology to consume, drifted away from the empty pod. "Outstanding, Chen," Williams called. "All pods, prepare for emergency separation on my mark. We're going old school." Within minutes, 60 Marines were flying through space, using nothing but personal maneuvering systems and human courage. The sight was so unprecedented that Director Vex High's voice crackled with amazement over the communication system. "Captain Martinez, your people they are flying through vacuum without vehicles. How is this possible?" Martinez's voice was filled with pride. "Director, humans have been preparing for hostile environments our entire evolutionary history. Space is just another environment to master." The Marines reached the emergency airlock simultaneously, their training allowing them to breach the entry systems using cutting tools and explosive charges. As the first teams entered the station, they found themselves in a nightmare of failing technology and panicked researchers. Williams led Alpha Team through corridors filled with the acrid smell of burning electronics and the ozone scent of failing life support. Emergency lighting flickered inconsistently, and in several sections, the artificial gravity had completely failed. "Director Vex High, this is Marine Alpha Team. We need a priority list of evacuation targets." Vex High's response came through a portable communicator rather than the station's compromised systems. "Sergeant, our most critical personnel are trapped in Research Bay 7. The Void Swarm has established some kind of feeding nexus there, and our people cannot escape." Williams consulted her tactical display. Research Bay 7 was 3 levels down and 2 kilometers toward the station's center. Between her team and the research bay were at least 6 Void Swarm entities and failing station infrastructure. "Copy that, Director. Alpha Team is moving to Research Bay 7. How many people are we extracting?" 437 researchers and support staff. Williams felt her heart rate increase. 437 people trapped in a section of the station that conventional galactic technology couldn't even approach. "Alpha Team, you heard the man. We've got work to do." As the Marines moved deeper into the station, they discovered something that the galactic researchers had missed. The Void Swarm entities weren't just consuming energy randomly, they were specifically targeting the station's quantum research equipment. Every major feeding site corresponded to an advanced technology laboratory. "Gunny," Corporal Jackson called from point position, "I think these things are after something specific. They're not just eating power systems, they're consuming the quantum research data itself." Williams stopped at an intersection, studying the destruction patterns. Jackson was right. The entities had systematically destroyed or consumed every piece of advanced quantum technology while leaving basic life support and structural systems relatively intact. "All teams, this is Williams. New tactical assessment. The Void Swarm is specifically targeting quantum research. That means they're probably strongest near the most advanced labs." Captain Martinez's voice came through the comm system. Gunny, that matches what we're seeing from the ship. The entities seem to be gathering around Research Bay 7 because that's where the primary quantum biological integration lab is located. Williams smiled grimly. Then that's where we need to go. The approach to Research Bay 7 was a masterclass in human military adaptation. The Marines used tactics that no galactic species had ever considered, crawling through ventilation systems designed for maintenance robots, rappelling down elevator shafts with the artificial gravity offline, and setting explosive charges to create new passages through walls that the station's designers had never intended to be breachable. When they reached the sealed doors of Research Bay 7, Williams could see why the galactic technology had failed. 3 void swarm entities had merged into a single massive form that covered the entire entrance. The creature pulsed with dark energy that seemed to absorb light, heat, and electromagnetic radiation. "Director Vexhai," Williams called. "We're at Research Bay 7, but the entrance is completely blocked." "Sergeant Williams, our most advanced weapons could not penetrate that barrier. How do you propose to proceed?" Williams looked at her Marines, seeing determination and creativity in their faces. These were soldiers who had trained in the Amazon rainforest, the Australian outback, and the polar ice caps. They had learned to survive and fight in environments where technology failed and only human ingenuity succeeded. "Director, we're going to use the one weapon these things haven't encountered yet." "What weapon is that?" "Human stupidity and determination." Williams turned to her demolitions expert, Corporal Rivera. "Rivera, how much explosive do we have left?" "Enough to breach a battleship hull, Gunny." "Good. I want you to place charges on the structural supports 50 meters back from the entities. We're not going to attack them directly." "Gunny, we're going to collapse the ceiling on them." The plan was so simple that it bordered on primitive. Instead of trying to penetrate or bypass the void swarm entities, the Marines would bring down several tons of station superstructure directly onto them. It was the kind of tactic that required complete disregard for sophisticated technology and absolute faith in basic physics. "All teams, fall back to minimum safe distance," Williams ordered. "Rivera, light them up." The explosion that followed was felt throughout the entire research station. Emergency alarms wailed as massive sections of the ceiling collapsed, crushing the merged void swarm entity under hundreds of tons of twisted metal and composite materials. The dark energy field flickered and died. "Research Base 7. This is Gunnery Sergeant Williams. Can you hear me?" The response was immediate and filled with joy. "Sergeant Williams, you did it! The barrier is gone!" What the Marines found inside Research Bay 7 was a group of researchers from 17 different species, all pressed against the walls in terror. They had spent 2 days watching their most advanced technology fail against the void swarm, convinced that rescue was impossible. "Director Vexhai," Williams called, "we've got eyes on your people. Beginning evacuation procedures now." The evacuation itself was another demonstration of human adaptability. With the station's transportation systems offline, the Marines organized relay teams that carried injured researchers through damaged corridors. They rigged emergency zip lines across collapsed sections and used maintenance crawlways to bypass areas where the void swarm entities were still active. Ensign Torres, monitoring communications from the Defiance, reported something remarkable. "Captain, I'm receiving transmissions from other parts of the station. The remaining void swarm entities are withdrawing." "Withdrawing?" "Yes, sir. They appear to be leaving the station entirely." Rodriguez studied the sensor readings. "Captain, I think the destruction of the merged entity may have disrupted their coordination. Without their primary feeding nexus, they can't maintain their attack pattern." Martinez nodded. It made sense. The void swarm had been drawn to the station's quantum research technology, and the Marines had just eliminated their primary target using the most primitive method imaginable, dropping heavy objects on the problem. 6 hours later, the last of the researchers had been evacuated to the Defiance. Director Vexhai stood on the ship's main deck, looking around at the human technology with something approaching awe. "Captain Martinez," he said, "I must ask, how did you know that simple kinetic force would succeed where our most advanced weapons failed?" Martinez smiled. "Director, sometimes the best solutions are the ones that don't rely on sophisticated technology. Humans learned a long time ago that if you hit something hard enough with something heavy enough, it tends to break." Rodriguez added, "The Void Swarm evolved to counter energy-based weapons and quantum technologies. They had no defense against tactics that predate space travel." Vexhai's expression was thoughtful. "For months, we have been dismissive of human contributions to galactic affairs. We assumed that your technological limitations made you irrelevant to sophisticated threats." "And now," Martinez asked, "now I realize that what we saw as limitations may actually be strengths. Your people succeeded because you approached the problem differently than any galactic species would have." The journey back to Earth took 2 days. During that time, word of the rescue spread throughout the Galactic Cooperative. The species that had dismissed humanity as primitive Deathworlders were forced to confront the fact that those same Deathworlders had just accomplished something that their most advanced civilizations could not. Admiral Harrison's face appeared on the communication screen as Earth grew larger ahead of them. "Captain Martinez, I've been receiving communications from the Galactic Cooperative all morning. It seems that several species are very interested in discussing expanded cooperation with humanity." Martinez laughed. "I imagine so, Admiral. Turns out that being underestimated can be a significant tactical advantage." Rodriguez looked at the rescued researchers, many of whom were still marveling at the human technology around them. "Admiral, what's our status with the cooperative?" Harrison's smile was broad. "Commander, I'm pleased to inform you that Earth has just received an invitation to join the Galactic Security Council. They want human tactical advisors assigned to their emergency response teams." "And the research that was saved?" "Director Vexhai has requested that humanity be included in the Quantum Biological Integration Project. It seems they believe human perspectives might be valuable for solving problems that conventional approaches can't handle." As the Defiance approached Earth orbit, Martinez reflected on the mission. Humanity had begun its relationship with the galactic community as outsiders, primitive Deathworlders from a hostile planet. But when the sophisticated civilizations encountered a threat they couldn't handle, those same Deathworlders had proven that sometimes the best weapon against impossible odds was human determination and the willingness to try solutions that others considered too simple to work. The emergency alert had indeed been sent to the wrong life form. It had been intended for the advanced Zilithians with their sophisticated technology and elegant solutions. Instead, it had reached the humans. And sometimes, that was exactly what the galaxy needed.